There's a moment in every football player's career that they realise they're not the player they used to be. For some players, it's heartbreak. For others, it's a single mistake that cost them a lifelong dream. Lionel Messi has reached heights in football that no one will ever achieve again. But even the greatest player of all time can't escape the reality that all eras come to an end. That his dominance in football is no longer what it once was. And for Lionel Messi, at least in my opinion, that realisation came on the 7th of May 2019. Let's rewind. It's the Champions League quarter-final in 2019. Messi's fear factor and dominance were clear to see at the Camp Nou. A Messi performance that, to me, can only be described as art. 2 goals and a free kick so perfect that it will go down as one of the greatest free kicks of all time. Barcelona 3-0 up, Messi in the driving seat. But for those who watched the game, it wasn't quite the picture of what we see. It didn't seem to be Barcelona that smashed Liverpool 3-0. It seemed to be Messi that smashed Liverpool 3-0. Messi was everywhere. Instrumental, he was directing play, he was involved in every attack, and his 2 goals were just the icing on the cake. But there was a feeling that Messi was carrying that Barcelona side to a degree. But Messi's fear factor was as high as it had ever been at that point. I personally held my breath every single time he touched the ball. He was untouchable, and I feared the worst at Anfield, that he will score at least 2 more. He was unstoppable. But football has got a cruel sense of timing. That Champions League campaign for Barcelona didn't seem to be much of a team performance. It seemed to be Messi against the world. So the plan was simple for Liverpool. Stop Messi and you might have a chance. Messi then arrived at Anfield. It was a depleted Liverpool side. And for the first few minutes and the first half, Messi's magic seemed to be intact. Obviously, Liverpool scored an early goal, but Messi again was instrumental and dangerous in that first half. Once again, Liverpool fans just feared the worst. It was a matter of time before the great man would take over. But something changed. I don't know whether it was Anfield or Barcelona just ran out of steam. Or maybe they relied on Messi too much in that moment. The longer the game went on without Barcelona scoring and putting Liverpool to bed, the more chance Liverpool had. And I don't know if you've been to Anfield on a Champions League night. As soon as we get a little bit of hope, the place changes into a cauldron of inevitability. As soon as Wijnaldum scored that second goal, you could see the expression on Messi and Suarez's face. You could see the tide was turning. Messi was going to have to come up with another miracle to stop this Liverpool train. And he tried his absolute best to do that. The problem is that Barcelona didn't seem to have what Messi had. Messi was creating chances, as he always does. He was getting shots on target. He was dribbling in between the lines. After all, he was still the greatest footballer of all time. But reality on that night is that Liverpool pulled another miracle out of nowhere. Wijnaldum levelled it up at 3-3, and at that point, you just knew there was no coming back for Lionel Messi. There's a couple of images in mind that I look at, and one of them is Messi on the floor getting up and Andy Robertson putting his hand on Messi's head. This is a moment that I think about a lot in that game when Liverpool went on to win 4-0 and get to the final and win the Champions League final. There was no stopping Liverpool, it was their time. Another iconic image is Messi standing with his hands on his hips in front of the Anfield crowd, looking like he walks alone, looking almost fed up, almost out of battery, out of ideas, completely humbled by the experience of what had just happened. It was almost as if Messi realised that he was human for the first time. And the biggest thing about that moment for me is that the world could see it. And in the months that followed the Anfield collapse, it was clear to see that Barcelona had unravelled. Messi's time at Barcelona was quickly coming to an end. Maybe that was the straw that broke the camel's back. Maybe that was the moment Messi realised he couldn't give any more to this Barcelona team. Barcelona had been his life. He'd been the soul of the club for 15 years. He'd given literally everything, every ounce of skill, sweat and genius to this football club. But he could no longer carry Barcelona alone. And in 2021, just 2 years later, the unthinkable happened. Messi left Barcelona to go to PSG. It was a dark day for Barcelona and the fans. They felt that they had lost their god. The tears, the farewells. I'm sure many Barcelona fans are completely scarred by what happened. But nothing could mask the fact that even legends as good as Lionel Messi have limits. But of course, Messi's story was far from over. 2021, he goes to PSG and eventually he goes to the MLS. He also goes on to win a World Cup in 2022, which was his crowning moment, which is the thing he's chased his whole career for. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that that moment at Anfield derailed Messi's career. He's too good for that. He's too legendary for that. He's too eternal for that. But as the point of the video states, I think that moment was a turning point in other people's opinions of Messi. I think it was a turning point for Messi himself as well. Messi was still as capable, but the way the world seen Lionel Messi was different in my opinion. And even the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, the fight between Messi and Mbappe was almost like the handing over of the torch. Messi, of course, prevailed on that day, but for me, Mbappe showed the world that he was no longer afraid of Messi. He was going to match Messi no matter what happened that day. And even though Messi won, it was still a clear sign to me that the world would not bend the knee to Lionel Messi anymore. But the great thing about great players is that they adapt, and Lionel Messi adapted better than anyone else. Where once fear was Messi's biggest weapon, intelligence, timing, and creativity became his arsenal. To me, it reminds me of when Muhammad Ali came back to the ring against George Foreman, and instead of dancing around the ring, he stays on the ropes. He changes his tactics, but he still reminds everyone that he's the greatest of all time. Messi got a lot of criticism in that World Cup and leading up to the World Cup that he only walks around the pitch, he doesn't run anymore. But to me, he was intelligently using his creativity when he needs to. He doesn't need to run. He can still score 2 or 3 goals in a game because he chooses his moments. He's become the old master. So to me, from Anfield to Paris to Qatar and the World Cup, Messi's story is no longer one of fear, but of mastery. He showed the world that his greatness is not static. He's not a one-trick pony. He evolves and adapts and prevails. And he reminded the world that even though most teams might no longer fear him, they will always marvel at his abilities. And even though Messi is still human like the rest of us, his legacy will never be touched. If you like this video, you might enjoy this video as well. And I have recreated Messi as a piece of art many times before, and you can download them all for free on my website. All you need to do is click the link in the description below, check out the full collection and download them completely free. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe.